Hello, my name is Evan Manning, and this is Leadership is Everyone's Business for AEP 855, Module 6. The first question we were asked to be able to answer was, to whom do you look for leadership qualities and actions as a role model? I would say for this subsection, I might take sort of a different approach to others. I kind of think that I like to look at leadership, at least pre this class, as a question of what you see that you don't like or things that were ineffective. I think that when you sort of do this, you see the tangible things that you feel like you could fix or that could have been more effective, but it was really hard to isolate like a tangible quality of leadership or an example maybe before this class. And that way, that's probably what sort of filtered the way in which I felt about leadership. So I sort of likened it to food, where if someone said that, like, what's your favorite types of food? It's really hard because you don't think about things that you do like as much as like the overt things that you don't like. And in sort of an example of that, it's like, what are things you like? It's like, oh, I like this specific combination of foods. And yet, if someone said, what are bad things or things that you don't enjoy, you get very specific responses, like the textural issues, like with the tomato for some people, or spice, or like texture and color with celery, or the salty or sour like limes. So it just kind of feels like it's that way. And I don't know, it's just something that I sort of felt about through answering number one. Number two was trying to isolate, are you an important leader and how do you know? I felt the chart from the book of which that we read was really good here. It talks about how the role models that we have are so much more about the people around us, and that we are role models for people like family members or teachers, community leaders, and those are by far the most obvious percentiles, and that was really important because it means that we're all functionally leaders, which means we all are important, and that is definitely a tangible way that we can look at that. Number three was discussing how will you learn about leadership and improve your skills. I really liked the quote from the Kuzis and Posner text, which talked about how leadership is this learned idea and we always need to be able to improve, and that it is something that is, again, tangible and improvable. But it also talks about how, that being said, it doesn't mean that people do hone those skills, and that has to be that ongoing process in order to improve your leadership ability. On question four, it was asking about reflecting on practices. Again, the Kuzis and Posner text do a good job of talking about how you have to have these conversations with yourself in these different environments, and how you have to be able to look back at different things that you did and always be thinking about how you can improve those, and how that's a daily process. And that would definitely be something that I want to do, as far as discussing the ways in which I can improve as a leader, and that reflection sort of component is going to be involved in my leadership journey. The fifth sub area was about humility and sort of defining that. So two things. I felt like from the text that something that I felt was interesting was the following quotation. You can avoid excessive pride only when you recognize that you're human and need the help of others. I think that's something that we all sort of need to remember, but specifically in the text, it also goes on to, especially in a leadership role, that's difficult because you think that you have to lead and that you have to sort of be the one in charge, and that with that comes a sort of a lack of hubris. And in that same way, I do think that something I found externally that was interesting was trying to make sure that you still can be assertive in leadership, which is obviously important, but that compatibility with humility is still there, and that's really, really important. So I thought that was something that I wanted to make sure that I sort of thought of, because I think that when we talk about being a leader, we know that has to be something that you're going to do, that you're super assertive and leading by example, and being willing to stand up for not only yourself but others inside of your group. But at the same time, you have to have that humility component as well. And I felt that was something that I wanted to make sure that I remembered. Number six was asking about one of the subsections of the text, which was seizing the moment. Um, Sort of an overall encompassing thesis of that was that leadership is in the moment, not a singular meeting of two events on a timeline for excellence. So there's no need to basically wait for the moment to all of a sudden get that opportunity for leadership. Rather, that every day and inside of those daily experiences, that you should lead by example and through the principles and the different driving forces that you have and the culture that you create in your leadership area. For me, the classroom, the culture of the school, that I create opportunities and moments to be a better leader. Number 7 was talking about the secret to success. Specifically, the text isolates the U.S. Army General John Stanford, who it really goes on in more depth, but discusses the staying in love idea, that if you're in love with what you are doing and that passion drives you, then you're willing to give up of yourself and other opportunities, and that all of your resources get sort of pushed into that goal, and that's something that you should do. That's something that I definitely want to take out of, and I'll remember from this class. And that's sort of the how to succeed. I also thought about trying to measure success, though, and sort of how difficult that is. So something that I sort of just thought about is sort of thinking about contributing more to others around you and in the world you live in than what you take away. And if you sort of do that, then I guess by definition, you were probably successful in life. And obviously, if you take away more from the world than what you add, then you're probably a detriment. And that's obviously not the way in which not only we don't want our leaders, but really any individual, because the overall society is net worse for that. So I really thought that this unit was interesting and that the book did a good job of articulating some specifics and also piggybacking from past ideas that we had discussed. And that I like sort of the ability to look through those tangible qualities of leadership and what I would do in the classroom. So with that, I thank you, and I will see you again.